My name is Simon Strange, and I am the lead designer at Sunstone Games. Sunstones is our first project that we're making. It's a Native American-themed puzzle game. We've done a lot of investigations into sort of Hopi themes and iconography and myths, and we're using those to sort of drive the aesthetics of what we hope is a very relaxing, interesting puzzle game for people to play. The game is not so much about solving things correctly as is about sort of creating art with the pieces that you have. There are a lot of different ways to sort of approach the game. There are achievements for approaching it in certain ways, but I think one of the strengths of the game is that anyone can play it and be very engaged and have a good time with it, even if you're not sort of a hardcore, I'm going to get 6 stars and get all my achievements sort of player. We have a really nice level editor that we use internally to build the levels. That will not be in the release, but we hope to make the level editor available to the public soon. The game itself will be free. There'll be an in-app purchase to unlock additional levels and content, and the editor to be able to share your levels. I hope that we'll be able to have fans of the game send us their best levels, and we'll be able to do monthly updates with new level packs, best of fan levels for this month. And we'll make them pretty with nice art and so forth. And so even free players will be getting new content periodically just based upon the user-generated puzzles that we're hopefully going to get. There are a lot of different mechanics in the game. Mostly you're just moving stones around on a board, but the stones have different properties, and so depending upon what sort of stones they're next to or the order you put them down, it can change what's happening in the game. The most important stone is the sunstone, not surprisingly. Sunstones are magic. They come from sort of an infinite well of sunstones. You can use them to create black stones, which are crumbly. You can use them to create white stones, which are dense and difficult to move around and destroy. You can use them to explode, to sort of like break apart the pieces on the board. And then there's even more than that we're going to be keeping hidden from players, initially at least. The game has a really nice natural growth to it. You start out, there's almost nothing to the game. You're just putting stones on splotches on the ground that are the right color. I tested this pretty extensively with my young children, and they get it. I've tested it with my grandparents, and they get it. But then through a really nice natural progression, we start to teach you more and more sophisticated manipulations of the stones. So after you've been playing 20-25 minutes, you're doing things that are really kind of astonishing. And people come over who haven't seen the game at all, and they look over your shoulder and they're like, oh, this game looks too crazy for me. And people say, no, I've never played games. I don't even, this isn't hard, because we've taught you in a really sort of a slow build way that's really exciting. There's also a nice non-linear progression to the puzzle. So if you think you understand the mechanics very quickly, you can just jump right ahead. You can jump to the incredibly difficult puzzles that we have, and we have some extremely difficult puzzles out there. We also have a lot of achievements that require that you think about puzzles in different ways. The basic goal of the puzzle is to fit the stones onto the existing glyph using as few moves as possible. So you need to use the properties of the stones to reduce your move count. But we also have a different sort of achievement trophy in each level for not getting rid of any stones. So this means sometimes you need to take extra moves to make sure you're preserving the stones you have on the board instead of throwing them away and making more stones, which is something you'll be doing a lot of in the game. So that gives kind of a different way to play each level. There's an achievement for each level for that. We also have achievements for using as few magical stones in the puzzle as possible. So that, again, is a different way you have to approach each puzzle in order to get that sort of achievement. And if a lot of people don't, and for people who don't care about any sort of achievements, simply solving the puzzle in itself is pretty rewarding and unlocks more puzzles unless you sort of get through the game. I know that personally, I always want to get all the stars, I want to get all the achievements, but that's certainly not the case for everybody, and I know that there are a lot of players out there who don't want to feel pressured to perform in a certain way, so I think we're really catering to all those groups. Sunstones, the specific inspiration comes from a Native American game called Pebble Patterns, which is sort of a memory game, essentially. You take a bunch of pebbles, or stones, leaves, sticks, whatever, and you array them out, and you have people look at them. And then you scoop them all up and have people try to recreate the original pattern. Our initial noodling around with this concept was to try to recreate that directly. But we decided that with a touchscreen interface, moving stones around and so forth was great. That was a lot of fun. But making a straight-up memory game was not very rewarding. So instead of having a memory game, we decided to show you where the things were going to go, and then that led us to this mechanic where actually moving them there and manipulating the stones became a little more interesting, and those were the puzzle elements started to come in. Why mobile games? Well, I personally have been doing console games for about 14 years, and I've been doing lots of big titles and a lot of exciting projects, working with a lot of fun people, but I've never been really intimately involved with the projects. There are so many other people involved. There's so many other, financial players and publishers and so forth. There's a lot of layers between me and the final project. The thing about mobile games right now is that a small team can completely own the project, can get it published on their own without anybody else coming in and adjusting what's going into the game. So that is very exciting. It's a little frightening as well, but it's something I really wanted to do, and I'm really glad that we finally have the opportunity with Sunstone Games to actually do that and put out a product that's really just 100% us.